opaque beams of light coming out of it. You have to have some way of making that beam of light show up in the atmosphere. We built this completely black velvet room. It was about 60 feet long and about 30 feet across and 20 feet high, with a kind of a closed air conditioning system that would circulate air in the room. And in the air circulation system was a smoke making machine that would inject smoke into the room. The room was completely surrounded by fans that would circulate the air completely evenly throughout the room. It turned out that the exact shape of the UFO was not very important. It was some very simple conical or curved or sort of hamburger-shaped plastic object. But on that object would be mounted various shapes of very bright lights or pieces of bent neon or a combination of lights inside through holes. And if we wanted the beams of light, we'd shoot an exposure in smoke, and that would create beams of light. But we wanted a very bright lens flare, which is a different effect, of sort of a ring, a halo of light around the UFO that's occurring in the camera lens. We'd shoot that without smoke. So those would be two different exposures. And sometimes a UFO would be made up of 7 different types of exposures at different levels and different colors. But there are other objects in the film that are strange objects. Like you'll see a UFO sort of tumbles over the top of the camera. It's an oxygen mask. It's just a rubber oxygen mask. You put a bunch of lights on and it was kind of a weird abstract shape. And there's a UFO that looks like a truck that flies by. So there were objects in the film that are a little more obliquely presented. You don't interpret them literally, quite like a McDonald's thing. The first thing about the clouds is that was Stephen's idea, that clouds were kind of a hiding place for UFOs. And it was written into the screenplay that we would expect these kind of cloud effects, and the clouds would build up out of nothing, or the mothership would emerge out of clouds, or the UFOs would emerge out of clouds. And we wanted to start experimenting with injecting some kind of white paint into water to create these clouds. And the real breakthrough came when Scott Squires thought up this great concept for the clouds, which was to have a tank half full of salt water and the top half full of fresh water, so that there'd be a difference in specific gravity between the top and the bottom half that would be invisible to the camera, but would allow you to put paint into the fresh water, which would billow out like clouds, but it would perform that kind of flat bottom atmospheric effect you get with clouds when clouds don't come below a certain
I just can't remember, but all I know, those aren't prescribed glasses.
No, if Caillou said those are prescribed glasses, then they are. I know about glasses. My boyfriend is an eye doctor. Just be proud of him. You're turning something really good to something really bad.
You know what I haven't...
If you happen to be among the 2
Normally, a star
have either a
field is
Gmail
little
account
white dots on
or
a
a
black
YouTube
background
account,
which are
well,
photographed
there's
on
something that you need to know. According to an announcement
film
that
would
was just
be
put out by
shot
Google,
probably on
which is of
color,
course the
negative,
parent
would be
company for both
developed and
Gmail
taken in
as
a
well as
positive,
YouTube,
and
well,
they
they're
go through
going to
different
start
steps and that would go to
deleting
the
all of their
optical.
accounts,
And
which are,
those big
according to
white
them,
dots, they
inactive.
just look like big
This
white
new Google
dots. They look
policy
like
will
stars
begin
because they're
at
grouped and
the
they
end
start
of this
getting
year,
bigger. They start
meaning in
looking like
December of
basketballs. It's
2023.
very tricky to
And
do a
besides
realistic
just
sky
YouTube and
background.
Gmail,
So the
it will also
technique
apply
that
to
we
the
use for
users
close
of
encounters,
Google
which I
Calendar,
don't
Google
know
Meet,
if it's
as
ever
well
been
as
done
Google
before or
Photos.
since,
Now, let's go through
was
what this
to
actually means, as
make
well as how
a
you can
standard
avoid
kind of
having
star
your
background,
accounts
little white
deleted.
dots on a
And
shiny
to start,
black
let me read to you
paper.
the rationale
This is
from
so that
Google
there's
corporate
a maximum
executives
amount
as to
of
why exactly
and
they're
the star
taking this
background
step.
is
Quote,
not
too many people
photographed and
were
then
not
optically
smashing those
duped.
like and
It was all
subscribe
the
buttons
original
below
animation.
Roman's videos,
And so we
so
would
we have
composite
to
a
take
shot
action. Now, I am, of
in the
course,
optical
just joking
printer
about
of all
that,
the different
but
elements of the
if you
foreground,
could
the
smash those
background,
like and subscribe
expose
buttons,
the
and maybe
machining
even
on,
leave a little
expose the
note in the
UFOs
comment
on,
section below in
and
order
then
to
take
tickle
that
the
piece of
YouTube algorithm,
negative before it
well,
was
then perhaps
developed
our
and put it
channel
on the
will be less
animation
likely to
stand
be deleted
and
by
put the
the Google
stars on
executives.
as an
Well,
original,
we still never know.
unduplicated
Regardless, here's
exposure.
what the
Sometimes
actual
with
Google
traveling
policy
masks,
update said.
working on
Quote,
people
people
in
want
front of
the
each other.
products and services they
This
use
allowed
online
very
to be
high
safe and
quality
secure,
stars that
which
went
is
right
why we
to
have
the
invested in
final
technology
composite
and tools to
negative.
protect our users from security threats like
Push
spam,
right
phishing
in.
scams, and account hijacking. Even with these protections, if an account hasn't been used for an extended period of time, it is more likely to be compromised. This is because forgotten or unattended accounts often rely on old or reused passwords that may have been compromised, haven't had two-factor authentication set up, and receive fewer security checks by the user. Meaning, these accounts are often vulnerable, and once an account is compromised, it can be used for anything from identity theft to a vector for unwanted or even malicious content like spam. Okay, so according to the official statement, the reason for deleting these accounts is because they are allegedly more prone to getting compromised, and and then subsequently are used for either spam and or things like identity theft. Although I will mention it's a little bit funny that this change is happening right in the midst of the 2024 presidential election cycle. I just wonder how many of these accounts will be accidentally deleted right before election day. Regardless, though, getting back to the statement from Google, in order to mitigate this supposed threat, here's what the company will be doing. Quote, to reduce this risk, we are updating our inactivity policy for Google accounts to 2 years across our products. Starting later this year, if a Google account has not been used or signed into for at least 2 years, we may delete the account and its contents, including content within Google Workspace, meaning Gmail, Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Meet, Google Calendar, as well as Google Photos. Now, the next big question here is how do you avoid having your accounts be deleted? Well, to start with, the elephant in the room here is not to use Google at all, since they have proven themselves time and again to be a company that's willing to engage in censorship of all different types. Not only do they censor content here on YouTube that goes against, you could say, the official narrative, but they also put Republican campaign emails in the spam folder. They place the quote-unquote approved sources of information at the top of the search results, so you can't see anything else. And at least on one occasion, they actually went into people's Google Drives and they deleted all copies of a certain documentary because they disagreed with that documentary's conclusion. So in general, Google has not really proven themselves to be champions of free speech by any stretch of the imagination. Regardless though, setting that aside, if you would like to maintain your existing Google accounts and have them not be deleted in this mass deletion campaign, well then you need to make sure that you keep them quote-unquote active. And in order to do so, here's what you'll need to do. Quote, the simplest way to keep a Google account active is to sign in at least once every 2 years. If you have signed into your Google account or any of our services recently, your account is considered active and will not be deleted. Activity might include these types of actions you take when you sign in or while you're signed into your Google account. Reading or sending an email, using Google Drive, watching a YouTube video, downloading an app on the Google Play Store, using Google Search, using sign-in with
this oil refinery that I had seen, and maybe the lights of the San Fernando Valley upside down.
Stephen had seen work that I'd done for Star Wars. I was a production illustrator on Star Wars. He apparently had passed this oil refinery, and so it clicked with him. So I started with that premise. And
Google to sign into a third-party app or service. And they didn't mention it here, but I'm sure that smashing those like and subscribe buttons should be on that list as well. Furthermore, if you are paying for any subscriptions on your Google account, such as a Google phone plan, their cloud storage service, YouTube Premium, their Play Pass gaming service, I believe it's called, or anything else like that, then your account is automatically considered active by the system, and therefore it's not subject to mass deletion. But it's also worth mentioning that this new Google policy only applies to personal Google accounts, meaning that if you maintain an account for an organization, a business, or a school, then this does not apply to you. Although it's not exactly clear how they will differentiate between a personal account and an account for an organization, since I know many people just set up a generic Google account and use it for their business. Regardless, in terms of the actions that you should take, besides the ones that I mentioned above, here are a few other suggestions. One is to go into your account settings and set up a recovery email just in case, because even though you might keep your account active, well, mistakes happen, and it would be a shame if your entire account was deleted by accident and you did not even have a recovery email set up just in case. Second of all, you can also back up all of your files using a feature called Google Takeout. This feature lets you export and download all the data that's stored in your Google account. You can make a copy of it, you can store it locally on your computer, or you can store it on a hard drive just in case your Google account gets axed. And then third of all, last, there's a tool called Inactive Account Manager. You can see it up on your screen. Over there, you can go there right now, and you can choose ahead of time what you want done to the data in your account if it happens to be deleted. You can even set it up such that if your account suddenly gets deleted, well, you can have all of your data automatically sent over to a trusted contact. By the way, if you do have Google accounts, even if you use them actively, setting these things up is probably a good idea anyway, because besides getting deleted for inactivity, well, there's always the chance, there's always the danger, just as we mentioned earlier, of getting your account suddenly deleted for being a quote-unquote thought criminal. So perhaps setting up all these contingencies ahead of time is a good thing to do. And in order to make everything as easy as possible for everyone who happens to be watching this video, down in the description box below, I will throw several links to all the resources that we went through in today's episode. Down there, you will find the links for the account settings tool, the Google Takeout feature, the Inactive Account Manager, as well as the full policy update from Google so that you can read it for yourself. All right, I'd like to take a super quick moment and introduce the sponsor of today's episode, Gundry MD.
What I have a better idea. How about we watch the security